Hi, today we're going to talk about how to make your subconscious mind work for you. And really, if we can make our subconscious mind work for us, we can be far more effective, insightful, and creative in our lives. I recently posted a video where I talk about the role of insight and the subconscious mind. And there's a bit of research with a quote in it. And in the research, they basically prove that insight is there regardless of cognitive overload. And if you read between the lines and think about what that really means, what it suggests is that insight does not belong in the conscious mind. The fact that the conscious mind is not affected by this, by the amount of workload does not affect your insight, proves your insight somewhere else. And where else is it? Well, I give you my own speculation. My own speculation is that it's in the subconscious mind. So let's take a look at the subconscious mind and how we can make it work for us. Okay, so this was the article, which I showed in the last video, which says the aha moment is inside different form of problem solving. So they kept throwing cognitive challenges at people while getting them to problem solve and also asking them to give an aha if it was a sudden insight. And what it proves is that the sudden insight is there regardless of cognitive overload, which means that insight's coming from somewhere else. Now, I'm suggesting it's coming from the subconscious mind, okay? Now, the subconscious mind is basically, we have here this famous diagram of the conscious and unconscious. And very simply put, your conscious mind contains your ego and your free will. And ego gets a lot of flack these days. People think people be egotistical, but you can't do anything without your ego. Your ego is the only thing that makes you an agent for change in this life. So if we actually think about the parameters of the conscious mind and subconscious mind, the conscious mind is capable of free thinking. It's capable of cogitating, thinking about things. It's capable of very high level thinking. It's also got choice. Okay, so you got the ego, you got willpower, you got choice. Are all there. In the subconscious mind, you got things like your beliefs, your intuitions, your memories, your habits. So for example, you could go to a hypnotherapist, they could put you into a state of trance and go back to your fifth birthday and you'll tell us all about your fifth birthday. So all your memories are actually in there somewhere. So the interesting thing about the subconscious mind is that the subconscious mind actually has a lot of power. So for example, when you're driving your car to school or to work and or you're on your bicycle or whatever it is, the reason why you don't notice it is because there's a part of the mind called the reptilian brain, which is doing the work for you. And that's actually your subconscious mind. There's also part of your brain called the brainstem, and that looks after things like respiration, heartbeat, and so on. And again, this is your subconscious mind. Now, if I ask you a question and I say, how long can you concentrate for? The answers I typically get are somewhere between 10 minutes and 2 hours. Somebody with ADHD will probably only be able to concentrate for a few minutes. Somebody with good concentration, a few hours. Somebody with great concentration, maybe like a brain surgeon, for example, or a heart surgeon, maybe 5 or 6 hours, but that's about it. And the reason is very simple. If I ask you the question, how long can you run a sprint for? Maybe 100 meters, 150 meters. Think about it logically. You've got a system of energy, of power production in your muscles, which links to ATP. So when you're sprinting, you're using ATP, and ATP uses a lot of energy, but you run out of ATP in about 20 seconds, which means for a normal person, probably somewhere around the 100-meter mark, 150-meter mark. And then you go into a system called glycogen. So we do our initial sprint, and then we have to go down to a run. We just can't keep sprinting. And really, this dichotomy is very similar with the conscious subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is all this high-level thinking, but we can't keep it going for a long time. It burns out. So it's like the ego mind requires a lot of overheads. Now, we tend to see this as failing. I can't concentrate for long. I can't concentrate on too many things. But we have to remember it's a terrific overhead for the system. Now, but we have the secondary system. So just like a sprinter has a ATP for sprinting, and then after that we go to glycogen, our subconscious mind is like the glycogen model. The subconscious mind does not have high level thinking, and the subconscious mind does not have an ego. The ego gets tired of effort. The subconscious mind never gets tired of effort, and it can. That's why it's able to work 24 hours a day, looking at things like breathing and habits and all this sort of stuff. So it's got a lot of power because it can keep working at things. And also all the reserves of things like creativity and intuition are lying below as we see here in the image of the iceberg, in the depths of our being, but not the high level thinking. So if you think about it logically, there's a correlation between the two. We tend to think that we're just the conscious mind. And many scientists would argue that there is no such thing as a subconscious mind. Many neuroscientists wouldn't really believe in it, or just believe that it's a bunch of functions. But definitely we do have a subconscious mind, and it's actually extremely complex. The key thing is when you can get the two of them working, it works very well. So the examples I like to pull out here is Mendeleev. He is the guy, Dmitri Mendeleev is the guy who came up with the periodic table of elements. And he tried very hard, he couldn't work it out. And one night he had a dream and he saw a chest of drawers and realized this is how the elements are arrayed. Another example I like to add here is Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr, he came up with the electron shell theory, because in the dream he saw the electron kind of whizzing around like that, realized it was actually in a shell and it bounced from one shell to another. So in both of these examples, what we're seeing is somebody working very hard consciously, and then their subconscious mind taking over and doing the work even when they sleep. So just by the same token, if you watch a horror movie and then go to sleep, you'll probably have a good chance of horror dreams. So, but these cases of Mendeleev and Bohr are examples of people who are getting insight via the subconscious mind, coming through the dream state. Also comes through the waking state as well, where you suddenly get inspiration. All right. So we have a guy over here. We have a guy here, Bob Proctor, who's one of these self-development gurus. I'm not endorsing or his courses. I know they're very expensive, but I do think his teachings are very useful. And he has some very interesting teachings. So let's take a look at some of the teachings that he has. Okay. So we have here the law of attraction by Bob Proctor. First of all, you might be thinking the law of attraction is bunkum, but if you actually think about what the law of attraction actually says, the law of attraction says that whatever you think about, whatever you feel about, and whatever you visualize on a regular basis is what you bring about, what you manifest. And the reason why is very simple, is that your conscious mind is meant to program your subconscious mind. And the problem is, imagine your conscious mind is, say, for example, Windows, and your subconscious mind is, say, your conscious mind is Windows, your subconscious mind is Unix. So how are they going to communicate? The conscious mind tends to think most of the time in words and language. The subconscious mind also thinks in language, but thinks more in visual images and in feelings. So as an example, let's say you have a problem with somebody. They're a bully or they're not a good influence in your life. You're always having conflict and you wish you didn't. But you keep thinking about them, so you visualize them. You also have conversations in your head with the sort of mini version of them in your head. You're fighting them in your head. So you're giving sentences, words, and statements to your subconscious mind, and you have strong feelings of aversion. Your subconscious mind has no ego. It doesn't know what's good, what's bad. It just knows you keep thinking about them, visualizing them, and feeling them. And it will try and make sure you keep meeting them or you keep having problems with them. So what we have to do in life is rather than focus on the problem, we need to focus more on the solution. And we need to work with our subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind will try very hard to align us to things. We all have a situation, we're thinking of somebody, next thing they call. We're working on something, and next thing an opportunity comes out of the blue. And the reason is simple, is that you're actually programming your subconscious mind, because I can only think of something for a few minutes, but my subconscious mind can spend all day thinking about it, working upon it, and trying its best to set up the situation. So to communicate with the subconscious mind, we have to send it repetitive thoughts, like suggestions or thoughts about things. We have to visual images, and we have to have the feelings. So if I want success, for example, it's good to use things like successful auto suggestions. I'm getting better every day. I'm becoming more efficient, more effective. I'm becoming healthier, whatever it is. I'm becoming more successful, whatever it is you want. Every day I'm getting more financial opportunities, for example, right? And you repeat them, but you also visualize yourself being successful. And when you visualize, you also feel. You try and feel the success as well as visualize the success. And you kind of bombard your subconscious mind with this. And that's the idea, is to try and program your subconscious mind. Now, there are some challenges, because strictly speaking, if this was working efficiently, we could do this in maybe 3 weeks, because it takes 21 days to create a habit. So I should be able to create a habit in 3 weeks, rewire myself, okay? But here is the problem. The problem is and this is another concept which comes from Bob Proctor, which I think is very good, is that we're not born with a conscious mind. Basically, the conscious mind develops over time. Bob Proctor thinks it takes about 5 years. I would say most psychologists would think maybe 7 or 8 years. Around 7 or 8 years to fully develop the conscious mind. And the conscious mind has discernment. If I say to a 3-year-old child, you're naughty, they will believe me. If I say to the same child at 10, you're naughty, they might not necessarily believe me. So the whole point here is that we are just, as young kids, we're absorbing whatever people are saying to us. The good things, the bad things, some of us good, of course, but a lot of us very negative. A lot of us things like you can't do this and you can't do that, and you can't be effective, and you're a failure, and you're a fool, or an idiot. So a lot of it is kind of like a thought cancer. It's like or thought virus, generation to generation, moaning at the next generation, and the next generation after them are moaned at by them, and so on and so forth. And then we get into the mental habit as well of moaning and groaning at the people who are coming after us. And it then becomes like part of our paradigm or belief system, whereby we're full of critical thoughts, and we are critical towards people, and we're critical towards ourselves. And if I'm critical towards myself, I can't achieve something because I don't believe in it. If I'm critical towards others, it also holds back my achievement because I don't believe they can help me, and I need people to help me. So the problem really is our programming. And all of this programming creates the paradigm, and the paradigm is what we believe in, okay? I always like to put this one down here. This is a nice, this is the Swedish experiment where they looked at a 10-meter tower, and they asked people to climb the 10-meter tower, and if they jump, they get $20. And if we just look at this for a second, let's just look and see how this guy gets on. Is he going to jump? Or is he not going to jump? Let's see. He's nearly jumping. By spending a long time. Let's see. Whoa, nearly about to jump. It's impossible, he says, not, he goes, okay? I don't think he's going to do it. No. He's done, okay? If you look at the next couple, okay, I'll put this link in the description, in this YouTube link. So these are big discussions, and it's like something of a drama TV show, where you chicken out, will you go, won't you go? And in the end, eventually, you'll jump. There, yeah. So even though that guy was absolutely terrified, eventually jumped. Now, the interesting thing about the paradigm is the first guy who wasn't jumping was terrified. If you watch that video, see the second guy, there's a whole bunch of people in that video. It took him 3 or 4 minutes with his girlfriend or friend or whatever she is, talking to him. And both guys were equally terrified. But one guy jumped, and ultimately the reason why the second guy jumped was that his paradigm, which is a story, told him that I can jump, and the other guy didn't. So often in life we want to achieve things, but what holds us back from achieving things is we don't believe we can do it. And this is what we have to overcome when we want to program the subconscious mind. We have to make ourselves believe that we can do it. So we have to change the paradigm and change the story. So another way of looking at paradigm, which I would suggest, is think of it in terms of narrative. So changing the narrative. And our narrative, every day when we wake up, we create a narrative. And the narrative you had a few years ago is different than today's narrative. And the narrative you have a few years in the future will be the same. Just look back in your memories and think about what kind of person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. What did you think about? Where were you at? And I can guarantee you'll be different a few years from now. There's so many things happen in your life that are changing you and changing how you are in the world. And so the narrative is changing anyway. But what we can do is we can work to be active members or active agents of change in our own life by attempting to create our own narrative. Because when we look back, we'll see there are certain things we were doing years ago, some of the beliefs we had, some of the thoughts we had, which are immature, which weren't as good as now, and we're better people now than we were then. But we'll also see some aspects of our life in the past which are better than now. Maybe we're more idealistic. And in some ways, we were better in certain aspects. And so in some ways, we're improving, in some ways, we're disimproving. And hopefully, overall, we're improving. Hopefully. So, but we need to tackle the narrative ourselves. We need to change our narrative ourselves. So if we go back to this diagram down here and talk about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, how do I make the subconscious mind work for me? What we have to realize is three things. One, we have a paradigm, and that paradigm is stronger than conscious thought. I can think I'm going to speak in public, but if I go up my knees start knocking, it means my subconscious mind doesn't believe I can. So we got to work with our conscious mind. The second thing we have to realize is we were programmed early in life. So although ideally we should be able to reprogram our mind in 3 weeks, we've got all this garbage to get out of, okay? So what we've got to do is do reading. If you look at a lot of videos on my channel, I talk a lot about weeding out thoughts, diary writing, all sorts of things for improving ourselves. So we've got to realize that we have a paradigm, realize that we've been programmed, and understand the connection between the conscious and subconscious mind. If you look at the other video, which I just put out recently, where we talk about the aha moments, they're not connecting the dots here, which is fine because they're scientists and they're just trying to observe something. But we can speculate when we look at this research. The research states quite categorically that people are capable of insight regardless of how much cognitive overload they're going to get. And what that basically means is no matter how much is going on in your life consciously, the insights can still keep coming. And that's a tremendous power. If you think about it, if I can still have insights, if I can still adapt and change and grow, no matter what's happening mentally, emotionally in my conscious world, then that's an amazingly empowering thing. Because if it's just about, because everybody has a mental capacity that's limited, if it's just about my mental capacity and once I'm overloaded, I can't adapt and change, then I'm stupid. But it's not suggesting that. And it's obvious that it's lying in the subconscious, and we've got to make the subconscious work for us. So how do we get the subconscious to work for us? We get the subconscious to work for us by realizing that the subconscious mind requires the law of attraction, which is repetitive thoughts, repetitive images, and we also need to look at feelings. So you need to go and give your mind positive auto-suggestions. You need to have visualizations, and you need, when you have those visualizations, you have feelings, okay? Another thing I'd like to add very briefly is to immerse yourself in it, because all of this law of attraction stuff sounds very complex and difficult to deal with. But actually what you have to do is to deal with the law of attraction is just think in terms of immersing yourself. If you want to be a professional sports person, you lead a sports life. You want to be a musician, become like a musician. Want to be an actor, be an actor. Want to be a business person, do business. And what I mean by that is, let's say you want to be a business person. Yes, study courses, but start a business. You want to be a writer, write, but release your books. You want to be an actor, act, but go also looking for a job. So you've got to have action in there as well. So when we think of narrative, when we think of, say, for example, what Gautama Buddha says, is that my past is created my present is created my future. So if I want to change the life that I'm leading, I have to start living tomorrow's narrative today. I have to believe that this is coming, and I have to work towards it today. So I should be using positive suggestions. I should be using visual images. I should be using strong feelings, but I should also be learning about my craft that I want to develop. And I should be proactively getting out there. Initially, if I sing, it's going to be rubbish. If I act, it's going to be rubbish. If I write a book, it's going to be rubbish. If I start a business, it's going to be rubbish. If I study, I'm not going to be studying so effectively. But after a while, I'm going to get good. Okay? There is this nice idea out there called the 10,000 hour rule. It's just made up, but it sounds good. Basically, it takes 10,000 hours to master a craft. And so this is, we should be working at mastering our craft so we're ready when the opportunities come. And we should visualize and fantasize that reality is coming now. Plus, we should be proactive. So how to make your subconscious mind work for you is repetitive thoughts, repetitive feelings, and visualizations, and immerse it. So to make it practical, do the auto suggestions, do the visualizations. Well, in the visualizations, try and feel it, but also try and learn whatever craft or skill you're trying to develop for your career, for your success in life, relationships, work, whatever it is, health, whatever it is, and meet other people in that marketplace. Put yourself out there. And yeah, people will criticize you, but that's okay. Learn, grow, develop, have 100% faith at the beginning. Let's go to work and work towards it and immerse yourself. And that way you're automatically using the law of attraction. And this is how we get to use subconscious mind, by immersing ourselves in the life we want to lead, even though it hasn't arrived yet. Okay, that's the real key. So just think about that. You want to learn how to use subconscious mind, repetitive thoughts, visual images, and feelings. The easy way to do that is to immerse yourself in the life you want to lead and start doing the things that you will be doing in that life, even though there are only mini versions now. Start doing those things today, meeting those people today, developing those skills today, putting yourself out today, and working towards it and working towards changing your narrative. And after a while, the narrative becomes today's narrative. Okay, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. So you start with the narratives rather than having reality just hit you and you create your narrative. Create your own narrative and start working on creating the life that you want to lead. So I hope this helps you. If you like it, please give a like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.